A challenge run I've wanted to cover for a little while is Jumpless in Portal. Jumpless is something that I routed about 3 years ago now, and I never ended up making it due to having a pretty bad computer. My original footage for Jumpless, which is lost now, was recorded over Steam Remote Play. That's how bad my computer was. Thankfully, we can get a proper look at this now. Obviously, for Jumpless, I need to unbind all of my jump keys, which I have 3 of them, and then we get that nice little message there. Jump key unbound. I'm going to keep this little chart in the top left. It's going to measure whether I needed to use the intended route to beat the level, or if I had to use glitches, or something like that, which I'm going to class as unintended. I quickly realized that a lot of the early game is just intended. You don't need to jump, you don't need any of that. If you place a portal, you can get to where you need to be. I don't want to waste time in this video, so I'm just gonna skip all the test chambers which are intended. This ends up being 16 test chambers. Out of the 19 test chambers are completely intended, and there is 0 challenge. So, when we reach test chamber 17, we come across our biggest challenge yet, stairs. In this area, you only have the companion cube, and through no reasonable means are you able to get up there. You can't jump on top of the companion cube, of course, and you also can't use any props to climb the companion cube. So, that's a dead end. When I came across this part of the challenge, I immediately jumped to a video I'd watched a few years ago. It was a video on how to save the companion cube, and what they did was they used a glitch to bring a cube from the map before onto test chamber 17. The idea is pretty simple, but I thought if you brought something other than a cube, you'd be able to climb that pretty easily. So, how do you bring a prop from chamber 16 to chamber 17? Using a trick called Prop Preserve. Prop Preserve is a general label. It's basically just when you bring a prop from one chamber to the next. There's a bucket on the map before this, and when I originally routed it, I chose the bucket, despite the fact I'd say the PC in that room is a bit of a better choice for climbing. There are a few ways to do Prop Preserve, and in this chamber there's a pretty simple one to do, by abusing something called an edge glitch that's right at the end of the chamber. To demonstrate, I'm going to use myself instead of a prop. If you walk into this corner whilst having these portals placed down, you get teleported through the fizzler without your portals being fizzled. So you're on the other side, but you haven't actually touched the fizzler. If we apply this same glitch to a prop, we'd be able to get a prop through without it being fizzled. After a few attempts, you should be able to get your prop through, and then you can continue through to the elevator as usual. And now we have a prop in the next chamber.
The vital apparatus vent will deliver a weighted companion cube in 3, 2, 1.
Depending on the prop you pick, it should be pretty simple to get up here. But it took me a little while with my bucket. Once you get up the stairs, the rest of the chamber is fine, but the ending fling can be really difficult. So, since I'd already used glitches to beat this chamber, I went for a portal bump. Now, this is the first chamber I'd count as unintended, as I didn't really do anything the right way this chamber, and that kind of annoyed me. Spoiler alert for the rest of the quote-unquote challenge, You don't need to use glitches for any other segment, so I really wanted to get this number down to 0. When I came back to this video idea, I came back to the idea of getting a glitchless. I watched videos around and I found out that a YouTuber called MysticFlameYT had done something on the same subject. A video, can you beat Portal without jumping? And in the comments of that video, there was someone else's run which made use of a completely glitchless route to beat this chamber. The route itself was performed by someone called Floorb, who is a Portal speedrunner, and it mostly involves edging a cube and doing a fling at the end. Watching it made me feel pretty stupid for not thinking there could be a glitchless route for it. It was quite simple performing it too. So to start, what you do is you go on this little windowsill, and that raises you just enough to get on top of the cube when doing a crouch strafe. Then, once you're on top of the cube, you have to stand on the edge of the cube, and then, as it's rolling, you have to crouch back. When you chain a few of these, it means you can get onto that first step. From there, you have to get on top of your cube again, and since you don't have any way to be a tiny little bit higher than the cube, you have to angle it in a way that would have the cube just a little lower than you, so when you did an air strafe in a way similar to before, you're able to crouch just on top of it. You can then just roll it over with your body, as before, and get on top of the second step. Then you continue through the chamber and set up this fling which allows you to go right to the end of the chamber, with no glitches. I was able to get the fling pretty consistent, but picking up the cube and doing the fling was really hard for me, so I instead chose the advice of my boyfriend, who gave me this little presentation. After redesigning the idea of the camera stairs, I was able to get my cube to sit pretty on top of it, complete the fling, and then pick up my cube. This definitely made the route a lot more approachable to me because I'm bad at multitasking midair. With the chamber complete, we can take that one unintended and change it to a 0.5 because I still wouldn't say that fling at the end is intended, but it's not glitched. So, yeah, we get decimals now. Test chamber 18 is mostly fine. The turret section's a bit of a bitch because you have another one of these steps, but it's not really that much of an issue as we have props everywhere that can be used, or you can just do it with a fling. In test chamber 19, spoiler alert, you get lowered into a pit of deadly fire. You can just walk out of it, you actually don't even need to jump. Later into your escape, you come across this section where you need to get onto a raised platform. You can place the portal on top and then go under it, but you need to jump for it. After a while of spamming keys, you find out that if you just place a portal whilst crouching, it places you above the portal, as if you jumped through but you don't have to jump. I wouldn't call this unintended, but I wouldn't really call it a feature. It's probably just some safeguard being used against itself. Even further into your escape, you come across some crushers which are just too high to get up on. If we backtrack a bit, we can go and get a prop which allows us to climb up here. After you let Chell do some dolphin dives in the goo to get through her portals, you get to this section and aren't you glad you brought a prop? It's actually not possible to come through here without a prop. Once you clamber through, that's the end of that. In the section with the rocket turret, we have to get into this vent, and it's a bit of an awkward vent to just get into, so if you stack a few props, including the cube, you can get in there and shoot your portals. After a few more flings and getting to GLaDOS's chamber, that's the end of the challenge. You really don't need to jump for any portion of this. So, did the challenge end up being that hard? No, not at all. But it was quite fun, and I think working out and routing my own route for something is always quite fun, even if I had to look at someone else's for this one. If we look at the graph, it's very clear that the game wasn't designed with jumps needed. The puzzles themselves are usually quite static, and any flings you need to do are simple enough without jumping. I found it hard scripting this at first, as I felt the challenge was kinda pointless with how easy it was, but doing a deep dive into Chamber 17 was worth it enough. Thank you for the support in my last few videos. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.